There we go. Oh, I'm so happy you guys are adding the books to your cart. Yeah, I'm mailing the books out tomorrow. So if anybody makes a purchase tonight, you will get it hopefully by like Tuesday. Okay. Hey, everybody on all the other streaming platforms. I'm really excited to talk to you about what's been going on in our economy. And it has been a while since I've talked to you from these streaming platforms. However, I know that you all are aware that the feds have raised their interest rates by another 75 basis points. But I'm not sure if you were equally aware that the banks have also raised their rates as well. And so this could cause potentially a lot of damage. And I wanted to make sure that I talk to you guys about that. So let's get into it. All right. So for those of you who are not aware, Citibank, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase have all raised their rates. So whether it's you want to get a line of credit, personal loan, business loan, whatever, they have all raised their rates. And they're doing this with the hopes of fighting inflation. Now, typically, the banks do very well in these type of economic situations because a lot of people are either getting personal loans or they're getting loans to be able to go buy more properties and to position themselves in the market, which are called asset-backed loans, or they're trying to go get loans to weather through the storm, right? So either way, the banks usually make pretty good money during these types of economic situations. The problem that is beginning to arise is with the Fed's trying to fight against inflation so strongly, they're continuing to put in more basis points, right? So that we can fight against everything that's going on with inflation. With the banks increasing their rates as well, this is putting more pressure on consumers as well as businesses. So I've seen where, we have the data that's come out where they said 3.8 million Americans are going to be facing evictions and homelessness within the next month or so. Now you have more data that came out where major companies were suggesting that they're going to start doing hiring freezes. They're going to start doing layoffs and really pulling back on their expenses come mid 2023. You've got several CFOs coming out and saying, listen, I know by definition we're in an official recession. However, we're really not going to feel the effects of it until mid 2023. And then now we have this where the banks are going to be raising their rates again. And they're saying they could potentially raise it to as high as 4.6% by end of 2023. And so it's really putting a squeeze on the borrowing power of especially consumers. But when business owners feel that when they can't go out and borrow the money that they need to be able to, sustain or pay their employees or do whatever, they're going to also start drawing back. They're going to start doing layoffs. They're going to start making business decisions to where they're focused on their bottom line and less of seeing if they can go and borrow money. And so I was reading an article today about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is about to get really ugly if we don't prepare ourselves properly for what's to come in our economy. So we see where obviously they've pumped, over 80% of all money made from the US has recently been pumped out within the past couple of years. And now we see all of these efforts to try to counteract what has been done. The problem with that is that there's so many people who are walking into a brick wall who don't realize that it's coming. Okay. And so one of the things that I really try to do is to make you aware of what's being said that's outside of the news. Okay. What's being said from a data standpoint, what's being said based off of CFOs, what's being said based off of business decisions. And that way you can properly prepare yourself for what's to come with the economy. Okay. I don't know how many people in agriculture need to tell you this, but you see small increases right now with what we're spending on meats, with what we're spending on certain groceries inside the grocery store. But as it costs more to feed the animals that we do eat, it's going to eventually hit in the grocery store. So you're not just going to see increases on things like rent, like we've already experienced. You're not just going to see increases on different expenses that you currently have outside the grocery store, but you're also going to be experiencing them heavily when it comes to produce. when it comes to poultry, when it comes to beef. Okay. And so people need to get prepared. And how you get prepared is by doing a few things. So we're going to go over that today. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. Here are 10 things you need to do, or at least I would suggest you do. Number one, you definitely need to get a snapshot of your personal finances. Okay. It's one thing to say you're just making it or you're getting by and you're able to survive. We need to get out of survival mode and we need to properly prepare for what's to come. What that looks like is definitely saying that you have a minimum of 3 months of all of your expenses, not just your bills, your lifestyle expenses as well. Because let's be real, no matter what happens in our lives, if we can spare a few change to go do something that we want to do, we're going to go do it. So you might as well just financially prepare for you to live comfortably through the fluctuations of the economy. Okay. So at minimum 3 months of all of your bills, rent, mortgage, insurance, gas, all that stuff, and then include the things that you would typically do that you spend money on, because you don't want to compromise your bills for your lifestyle if you've been so comfortable and fixated in the current lifestyle that you're living. Okay. So you want to make sure prepare for that. Then, and when you're going through your expenses, please focus on how you're going to be able to decrease these expenses. Okay. Call all these companies, negotiate with them, ask them what's available to you, because half the time we're just accepting whatever they tell us to pay because we know that we need it. But one of the things that I was able to do, there's this company called Stream with my gas. They've been phenomenal. Actually, I only pay, I think, like 48 cents per therm for my gas, whereas Georgia Natural Gas wanted to charge something like 71 cents or 81 cents per therm. But because I called around and I didn't settle for what I was told was available to me, I was able to get the cost that I pay for my therms reduced, and I locked that in for 2 years. So through all these fluctuations that you guys saw with oil and all of that, I didn't have to experience any increases outside of being at the pump. But of course, because I'm an investor, I also took advantage of that. So I made money while that happened as well, right? You want to do the same thing with your power bill. Try to see if you can get fixed rates on your power, because what this will do is create stability in your bills. If your power bill is the exact same thing month over month, it makes it easier for you to plan out your budget, opposed to saying, okay, I know my bill is going to be higher in the summer months and lower in the winter months. It would stay consistent year round, and they reevaluate it based off your usage. So I know every single month what my power bill is going to be regardless of what I'm using, and then I can reevaluate that at the end of the year. It is super helpful to do. Okay. Another thing is that you guys start calling these phone companies and start negotiating what you're paying them. All you have to do is say, if you're really experiencing some financial turmoil, just say, listen, I've been affected by COVID or my employment. I've had a reduction in hours. Is there anything that you can do to lower my bill? They're going to go through the options with you, but they're only going to do that if you call. So stop accepting things for face value that these companies say that you have to pay out, because 9 times out of 10, you can get these bills reduced and then not have to compromise the current service that you have. Okay. So get your personal finances in order. Next thing I want you to do is I need you to know the difference between good debt and bad debt. So in personal finance, you hear a lot of people say all debt is bad debt, but that's not necessarily true. Remember when I was telling you there are people who are getting asset-backed loans so that they can go out and they can do investments, and whether that's purchasing land, purchasing property, positioning themselves. Because I'm not sure if y'all are aware, but it is my strongest belief that 20 years from now, it's going to be very difficult for my children to go out and purchase property based off of how much those properties are going to cost compared to what they make. And so you think it's hard now, but if you can get your hand on some type of asset like that and hold it and be able to build that type of wealth for the next generation, it's going to put them light years ahead of even where you thought you would be, right? So for me, good debt would be being able to acquire asset-backed loans so that I can go purchase investment properties. That would be good debt, right? Of course, you have to be in the right financial position to do that. But if you are, this is how you're getting ahead of the game. This is another example as to why they say people really are able to build wealth during a recession, is because they're focused on how can I build wealth right now versus how can I pay down debts, or how can I get my first like $1,000 or so of savings. They're focused on leveraging their income versus just living day to day. So if you can do that, if you got 500, you've got $1,000 that you have that's put aside that you know that you're not going to need, start looking to see how you can position that money to grow long term. I'm getting ready to tell you how you can do that, so hold tight. All right. Bad debt. Bad debt would essentially be like, let's say you have a variable loan. So you're going to be the most affected by everything that's going on, because as it varies, so will the rate that you pay. But if you have a fixed rate, you're going to be good. You're locked in. So try your best to try to get around those variable rates, okay? All right, cool. And then shop around for the most competitive borrowing rates. So let's say you have to go get a loan. All right. So we already know that 3 banks have raised their rates. That's Wells Fargo, that's Citibank, and that's JP Morgan Chase. So if you definitely know that you need to go get a loan, what I would suggest is that you go through a credit union first. And then if it doesn't work out with the credit union, look at doing consolidations with balance transfers. Because what this is going to do is, let's say you go get the consolidation with the debt. You say you want to do a balance transfer. They go and they pay off the credit cards that you may have, where you might have been spending, let's say, $600 a month on the minimums, just trying to keep it covered. But then you go get a debt consolidation, do the balance transfers. Now you have one loan that you're paying. And let's say those loan payments are like 300 and something. Well, now you've increased your availability because those credit cards have now been paid down by that debt consol and that balance transfer, right? And so now you have the available credit to then use again if you truly need it. But this is how we can start navigating around people getting those payday loans, people getting title loans, right? And people doing stuff like the Earning app, trying to borrow from their next paycheck. There's other options that are available to you that will work more in your favor, as long as you have a plan and as long as you can stick to that plan, than just going out and sticking with some predatory lending company, some company that says you're pre-approved or have high approval odds on Credit Karma, and then turn around and have to pay 34% in interest, right? So there's other options that are available for you. Look for those competitive borrowing rates. I would definitely suggest that you shy away from those 3 banks right now, because those are the ones who have increased their rates. Okay. And then obviously work on boosting your credit score. Please work on boosting your credit score. When your credit score is higher, your borrowing power is stronger. Okay. If you absolutely have to resort down to a loan, you want to give yourself the best fight possible when you go and apply for them. So how can you work on boosting your credit score? Number 1, okay, when you're going through and you're trying to check on your credit score, please stay away from Credit Karma. Credit Karma is trash. In my personal opinion, it's just trash. All right. It's a cute app to try to have a look at your Vantage score, but it's not really going to assist you in building your credit. What I would suggest you do is you go to like myfico.com, you do Identity IQ, you go to annualcreditreport.com, you pull your reports from the 3 major credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Get those reports printed out, and you want to check for the smallest things that could be inaccurate on your report. I'm talking about your name being spelled correctly, past addresses being on there, old employers being on there. Check and make sure everything is up to date, phone numbers, all of that, because it all can affect your credit score. Lastly, please remember, y'all, it is the job of the creditors to prove that debt is yours. Not your job. It's not your job to prove to them that it's your debt. It's their job to prove to you that you owe that money. So when you're going through and you're disputing this stuff, stop taking your power away by disputing online, because I know 9 times out of 10, you're not reading the fine print that is attached to the online dispute. And so 9 times out of 10, you're giving away your power to dispute things when you're checking off these boxes, and then you check off terms and conditions and the fine print, and you're not realizing that you're probably taking on ownership of some of that debt before you even give yourself a chance. Okay, so when you print out those reports, identify Identify the money that's owed. I'm not the money that's owed. Identify the debts. Write a letter. Type it. Write a letter. Right. Know your rights as is associated with your credit, and mail in time-stamped dated letters to these reporting agencies. When you are doing them online, you take so much power away from yourself. Somebody I even saw, they suggested that you fax it in as well, because on the fax, it puts the time, date, and the stamp at the bottom. All right. But you need to keep record of that. And when you do it through the mail, obviously you get a receipt. The receipt has the time, date, and all that stuff on there as well. Okay. All right, cool. And make sure, also the ones that like you have your credit scores that show up through your banking app, that's not enough. You need to have your alerts turned on. You need to make sure that you're staying on top of it. Your credit is really like a game. And the only way you're going to beat the game is if you are on that baby like white on rice, okay? You on that thing like glue on eyelashes, all right? Like a weave on a track, okay? You got to be on top of it. You just got to be, all right? Okay. Keep up frequent communication with your credit card issuers. So, oh my gosh, do not ever just settle to say, this is all I can afford to pay. Do not ever settle to say that's all that you could do, because you never know what your options are available to you until you make the phone call. For example, with the group of ladies that I was working with, especially when COVID kind of first hit, some of these ladies were really struggling. Like the APRs were kind of high. They were like, all right, I have reduced hours. I said, hey, look, give the creditors a call. Some of them were able to get their APRs reduced down from 19.99% down to like 9% for 12 months. You just never know. And those options wouldn't have been available to them, and without any type of penalty. Those options would not have been available to them had they not made the phone call. So call the companies that you're paying your debts off to and ask them and say, hey, all right, I have all this going on. I'm trying my best. I want to stay on top of it. I would like to see if it's a possibility to get my APR reduced. All they're going to do is go in their system, see what options are available for you, and they're going to let you know. But do you think they're going to volunteer to reach out to you to let you know you can pay them less in interest? Absolutely not. So make sure that you are staying on top of that. Okay? It doesn't matter which credit card company. It could be Capital One. It could be Navy Federal. Lord, it could be Credit One. It could be any of them, right? All right. And then don't let low yields and high inflation keep you from saving. So, really quick, while we're on this topic, okay, thank y'all so much for being in here. Hey, Jazz. Hey, Coach. You Chase, all of them. Give them a call. Listen, I want to talk to y'all real quick about your savings accounts and what's the purpose of your savings accounts, because I feel like we kind of get this messed up, and it's really important that we cover this because your annual percentage yield is going to mess y'all up with how inflation is rolling right now. All right. Inflation is currently at around 8.5%. If you're putting all of your money that you don't want to spend in a savings account, the highest that I've personally seen any yield, which would be the money that you're earning on your account whilst in a savings account, is around like what they say 1.9%. But if inflation is around 8.5%, and that's the highest return that you're getting is less than 2%, you're still losing value on your dollar every single day it sits in a savings account. The purpose of a savings account is for a specific thing: a vacation, an emergency, a birthday, holiday, like a specific designed event. So you know that a year from now, let's say 6 months from now, 12 months from now, you know that you're going to go in, you're going to pull that money out for a specific design purpose. That is the only reason why you should have savings accounts. In my personal opinion, y'all can disagree with me if you want to, but I'm about to burst a couple bubbles in here, okay? If your money is not outpacing the rate of inflation, you are losing value. So if you know that you have money that you don't want to touch, and you know that this money is like, hey, I just want to make sure that I've got a strong like nest egg available for me once we get out of this recession. I have no intention on touching this money at all. I've got my emergency fund put aside, and and I just need to put the rest of this money up somewhere, and you have it sitting in a high yield savings account, I want you to look into two things. I want you to look into I bonds. I bonds currently, if it hasn't changed yet, I don't think it's changed yet. It will be changing soon if it hasn't. Has a current rate of return of 9.62%. Okay. Now that will change, but it's only going to change with the rate of inflation. So if inflation's at around 8.5%, it'll be my assumption that the new rate that's going to come out with the I bonds will probably be around 8.7, 8.6, somewhere like that, but it's still outpacing the rate of inflation. Now with I bonds specifically, you have to have that money in there for a minimum of a year. Okay. And if you choose to withdraw the money before the 5-year mark, you will lose 3 months of that growth. But that's still way better than keeping your money locked away in a savings account thinking you're protecting it when in all actuality, it's still losing value. Okay. Now, another option for you would be to look into index funds. Now, obviously, investing, you have high risk, high reward, potential reward styles of investing, and you have low risk, high reward, potential styles of investing. If you don't know anything about the markets, if you don't have your fundamental analysis down, your technical analysis down, what I would suggest is that you look into index funds. It is a very good way to take advantage of multiple companies without having to necessarily study them. Just have to identify which index fund portfolio is going to be the best suited for you. I know a lot of people like QQQ, a lot of people like VOO. So check into what works for you. Now, historically, the S&P 500 has an annual return of 10.5%. Keep in mind with the next couple of years, that's probably going to shift down given the state of our economy, but it's still way better than anything that you would do in a high yield savings account. Okay. And so if you want to bust out a calculator to let you know that, pull up on Google, put in savings account, what is it? Savings calculator, and then put in the standard APY, your annual percentage yield, that would be 0.01. Okay. Put in the number that you are currently putting in your savings account, how many years or how many months you'll be contributing, whatever you're going to contribute to it, and then let it calculate it. Then I want you to do the same thing for an index fund calculator with the exact same numbers. You will be astonished by what you see. Hands down. If you haven't done it, I want you to do it. And your jaw is literally going to drop the difference that what you would have earned in an index fund more than what it would have been in a standard savings account. Okay. All right, cool. I think I nailed that one down. All right. So then if you're going to have your money in those savings accounts for a specific design purpose, you want to look for the highest yield possible. Personally, I love Ally. I think Ally is fire because they have buckets that you can put your money into. So let's say you've got you've got your kids' birthdays coming up. You have Christmas if you celebrate Christmas or whatever holidays are coming up. Every single year over year, you're going to buy something. Well, have a savings account. Let Ally put it into buckets, and then you have those design purposes for what that money is for. When the occasion comes, you go in the account, you pull it out, bada boom, bada bang, you got your money. Okay, super cool. So I'm a big fan of Ally, y'all. Check them out if you haven't had them before. But having those saving buckets is key because you can see exactly where the money is going and for what purposes that you said that you wanted them for. The other thing is if you're someone who's trying to build your emergency fund, here's a suggestion for you because I see this a lot, especially with the ladies that I work with in my community. If y'all didn't know, I do have a community of women, and it's a monthly membership. They have coursework, they have weekly coaching calls, weekly workshops, weekly accountability calls. We have weekly game nights. They have the whole nine. Okay, and then we give them money at the end of the month. And then we give money to a nonprofit that helps women and children to some capacity. So we have a lot of fun in there, and it's all about money management. We go through the mindset, we go through your relationship, we go through the money management, we go through investing, and then any class that I teach, they get for free. So if you're not in the community and you're thinking about it, it's a great community to be in. Okay, it's $30 a month. All right. Now, with looking around for the best savings yields, Okay, do not put long-term money in those accounts. Suggestion, put them in an investment account. All right, start recession-proofing your finances, y'all. Start recession-proofing your finances as best you can. I know that it is hard. I know what the data suggests. I was part of that data for a very long time. Okay, living paycheck to paycheck is very hard. Saving money is hard. Okay, building a safety net is hard. It's all hard. You got to pick the hard that you want to stick with. All right. Either you're going to stick with the hard of being stressed out and having anxiety and sleepless nights and really trying to figure it out, or you're going to stick with the hard where you're combing through your finances, you're telling your money where to go instead of watching where it went later on, wishing that you could return some stuff, right? It's two different hards. There's a hard of discipline and there's a hard of habit. And the hard of habit is usually where people get stuck at, because they fail to identify what habits they have around their money. Therefore, they can't identify their triggers around money. Therefore, they can't create healthy boundaries around their money. Therefore, they can't stick to a budget to start building wealth. And then there's the discipline of combing through your past 3 months of your statements, identifying what you've been spending on your wants, identify what you've been spending on your needs, and start dictating and telling your money where to go every 2 weeks when you get paid. There's the discipline of it. That takes time. Okay? That takes personal development. That's a different type of hard. At least you know on one side of the hard, you're going to get the end result of actually saving money and potentially building wealth. And on the other side of hard, you're just going to keep trying to figure it out. And then you're going to look up 20 years from now, you're still trying to figure it out. And then you're going to look up, you're 70 or 80 and you're trying to, live off of the pension, and you're still going to try to figure it out, because I've seen it. As a banker, I've seen it. With clients, I've seen it. So just pick your heart, please. Start recession proofing your finances. Okay, y'all? And then also, wherever you're working right now, look for opportunities to try to get a raise as best as possible. Okay. I don't know how many of you have kept track of what you've been able to do for the company that you work with, projects you've been able to help them complete, any type of efforts that you've done that has allowed the company to either save money or make more money, any type of leadership roles you've taken on. I don't know if y'all have folders that you're keeping track of this, but when I was a banker, I had me a thick folder, because I was actually trying to go into corporate, finish my master's and all that while I was a banker, right? So try to your best to position yourself to where you're either creating job security or you're positioning yourself for a raise, either a leadership role raise or a raise actually within the finances alone, right? And there's ways that you can do this. There's a whole formula to go about it. I actually had a couple of career specialists come talk to my community about it as well, because they've been able to help people advance in their corporate careers or help people advance just wherever they're working. Right. One lady actually went from making $14 an hour to, she went in there, did everything that was suggested. She came out, she made $24 an hour, $14 to $24 an hour. And they wrote her a bonus check not to leave them. That was a good day. I was really happy for her. All right. Then you want to tune out market volatility. Oh, this is huge, y'all. Okay. The market is going to do what the market is going to do. And apparently, I'm not going to be able to stay on too much longer because my phone's at 10%, but I'm going to get through this. The market is going to do what the market is going to do. Okay. The only thing that you can do as a long-term investor, notice I said long-term investor, is to wait out the volatility in the market. You do not technically lose anything until you sell where you're invested. But know the difference between a long-term and a short-term investor. Being a long-term investor is not hoping that the market will turn around. Being a long-term investor is saying that you've looked up the company's valuation, you've checked out their balance sheets, you know what type of cash flow they have on hand, you know what it looks like for you as a shareholder in the event that the company does go belly up. This is one thing. Hoping that the market is going to turn around, hoping that being invested in a hurts and they don't go bankrupt and it turns around is different. Okay. Analyzing the market is totally different than just hopping on something in Robinhood and being like, well, one day I think it'll be all right. We're not doing that. All right. And if you need help with that, I am teaching a class on Saturday for new investors in the stock market. All right. And that class is only $39.99. The link is in my bio if you want to register, y'all. But the people who've taken the class, I've had over 200 people take this class. It's sold out each time from 5 different countries. I'm also going in and showing you one of my personally managed portfolios, not for the purpose of you to take screenshots and say, oh, I'm going to go invest into this, but because for many people, they don't have their own portfolios. Right. So to be able to go in there, show you like the unrealized gains versus the realized gains, how to buy a share, when to sell a share, how to navigate through that process, how to open up your own portfolio. I'm going into technical analysis and making sure that you understand the basics of market structure, making sure that you understand what you're looking at so that you can be a profitable investor in these markets. Because a lot of people have no idea what they're doing besides just hearing somebody say, go invest in something, and they go buy the share. But there's so much more that you have to look into. And I break it down for newbie investors. I go in and we're marking up a chart together. I'm making sure that you understand everything that you need to understand at a fundamental level when it comes to fundamental analysis and technical analysis. So that class is actually Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you also get access to the recording and any resources that come with the class. And again, it's only $39.99. So go register if you haven't. I would love to see you in class. All right. If you guys hear something, that's my dog snoring. I'm sorry. Tune out the market volatility. All right. This is huge, especially if you're invested into index funds. I know a lot of people do not want to look at their 401ks right now because it is rough in these streets, but it's going to be okay. Also, y'all, please start cushioning your portfolios with bonds. Please, bonds create security, like a nice, comfy, solid hug on your stock portfolio. All right. So the bottom line is get on top of your finances, make a plan, and stick to said plan. And if you don't have a plan, you need to be connected to people who make the plans. All right. And stop just navigating through this thing. Oh Lord, stay away from the earning app. Stay away from these apps that let you borrow from your next paycheck, which essentially means you put yourself in debt with yourself. Now you're in debt with your own time and energy. Don't do that. Don't go with these payday loans. Don't go with these title loans. Watch out for these predatory lenders. Get your butt off Credit Karma. What else is it? Get yourself a savings plan. Please have a minimum, if you can, of wake up. Get yourself a savings plan, okay? As best as you can, get 3 to 6 months worth of all of your expenses put to the side. And if you don't have that, maybe it's time you get a side hustle. Maybe it's time you stop watching all these goddamn shows when you get off work for 2 hours and go put that time into making some more money. So if something happens, God forbid, because a lot of these companies are going to be doing hiring freezes. A lot of these companies are going to start doing layoffs. A lot of these companies are going to start looking at their best position for survival, which is their bottom line. And where you thought you were an asset, you will quickly realize your narrow behind has become a liability to the business. So maybe you should start getting a little bit of hustle and grit about yourself and get your savings to where it needs to be. So God forbid if something happens, you don't have to look at your babies in confusion like, well, I don't know. I guess we're just going to get evicted next month because I didn't do what I was supposed to do because I was hoping they'd keep me. Do what you have to do now so you're not struggling tomorrow. I'm so grateful that when I did lose my job as a banker, that I had a minimum of a year's worth of my salary put away so that I could take care of everything without having to go and be like, dang, I really need to go find something right now. It's Christmas time. I got to get it together. But there was a time where I negotiated paying my power bill so my kids could have a Christmas. But I am so grateful that I had a hard look in the mirror and I told myself I needed to figure out my personal relationship with my money. I need to figure out my triggers around my money. And I need to learn what boundaries I needed to set, not only around other people, but equally around myself so I could get my butt up off the ground and do what I needed to do so that my kids could be where they need to be and I could be where I need to be financially. I'm so grateful that I did that. Okay. And I need for y'all to get more passionate about doing the same thing for yourselves. I need it to be more than some temporary motivation. I needed you to really be like, you know what? I'm tired of looking good and having nothing to show for it. You know what? Maybe I don't need this fancy behind car with this high behind car note looking good and still having to only put 20 on 5 because I can't fill up my tank. Maybe I need to have some different conversations with myself. And it's not to say you don't deserve nice things, but it is to say that you need to create some balance in the level of bougie that you're currently living because the economy is showing you what's to come. And either you're going to get prepared for that or you're going to be a part of a reflection of that. So I just want y'all to be good. That's it. And my phone got like 5%. So if you're not getting registered for class, get registered for class for the stocks class. I would love to see y'all there. Again, it's only $40. I could have charged way more for that. I know that. But I just wanted to help people. So get registered for that. Thank you for everyone who purchased one of my books. I definitely appreciate y'all. Let me see. I sign every copy, so those will get mailed off tomorrow for those of you who did purchase the book. I greatly appreciate you. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. Also, while you guys are here, 2 things that I do. Number 1, you guys know I'd never save a live. So please turn your post notifications on because I don't ever save these. I always try to treat them like mini workshops. And number 2, I always give away some sort of freebie because you guys spent your time with me. And so because of that, I want to gift something to you. So what do I want to give you guys? If you've been on the live with me tonight, I would love for you to message me and say, hey, sis, I was on the live with you and I'm going to send you something. It's probably going to be like a free book, like a free PDF, not one of my books, but like a free PDF, maybe from like Grant Cardone or an investment, something. It'll be something free. I can't think around what exactly to send, but I want to send y'all something for being on this with me. I don't save the lives. Actually, the only people who get the lives that I do are the ladies in the community. They're the ones who get the recordings. So you have a few options though. If you really love everything that I share and you feel like you want to learn from me, I would definitely say sign up for a class. I would definitely say purchase the book. The book is a self-guided book, actually. Let me see. I have a copy. This is the book right here. So the book, you have parts where you're reading, right? So you have parts where you read. You have parts where you read, but you also have parts where you're asking yourself deeper rooted questions and you're doing that self-discovery journey for yourself. So it's not just you reading a book, it's you taking that hard look into your own self and asking yourself deeper rooted questions so you can do the things that I suggested. Identify your relationship with money, identify your triggers around money, understanding your habits and creating healthy boundaries around those habits and triggers so that you can operate well with your money, so that you can stick to a budget, so that you can properly invest in all those things. So it's awesome. It's a really good book. How old am I? I am 34. Hold on, y'all. Hang tight. 1 second. Okay, y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me on all these other platforms. I really hope that you enjoyed the live. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at all the comments. I didn't even notice them before. Thank y'all so much. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I would definitely love that. There's a lot of things that are getting put in the works for YouTube. So if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And I will talk to y'all later. I appreciate you guys from streaming. Y'all hang tight. I appreciate y'all.